to another episode of Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World. It's a place where we like to spend some time talking about all things travel and how travel could be part of your lifestyle. Whether you're hanging out at home or you've got boarding passes in your hands, travel influences us every single day, even when we play a game. That's right, it's the Big Family Game Night Show. We're happy to have you here. My name is Alex. I play the Babcia role, and I am a mom of 3 great adult kids, a teacher in first grade, an overseas traveler, a blogger, and you can find me over at www.tgctravel.com, and an overall travel junkie. Meet my best friend, Terri.
Hi, I'm Terri. I play the role of Yia Yia in this, and I am a mom, a teacher, and a traveler as well. Today, we're going to share some of the things that keep us travel happy when we are not out and about. So we're going to talk about books for travel, travel tips, products, things that we love, and we're going to start this with a little segment that we like to call Now Boarding.
Today we're talking all about family game night. We thought our now boarding travel picks, we would take some time and talk about things that kind of inspire the playfulness in all of us. And Terri, I know you've got a great global book pick today.
I do actually have several for those people who like to read books where you get to choose your adventure. So one of them I picked, it's called Pick Your Own Quest. It's kind of fast-paced, it's adventurous, you have surprising trips in it. So one of the titles is called Trapped in a Fairy Tales or King Tut's Adventures, and these are great picks for grades 1 through 6. And even adults. I find reading those books are even fun as well. Another pick I have is You Say Which Way. So this is
Uh-huh.
very interactive, and the reader gets to become the main character. So you're the main character in the book.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
neat.
pretty cool. And the last one I kind of liked was a different kind of twist. It was You Choose Survival. So you're put in these situations where you are the survivalist. Like, can you survive the jungle? So I think these are interesting, and especially when traveling, kind of keeps the kids' interest, and they can choose different different ways to their books to end. So you don't have to take a bunch of books with you because you can read that book several times and choose different endings.
Oh, that's a great idea. And everything that we mentioned today and now boarding, as well as in our feature segment, we will have links to all of these things in the notes below. So just check out the show notes if you're looking for any of the products or links that you need in order to learn more about those different things. Speaking of like choose your own adventure kind of ideas, I have a really great app that I want to recommend. And honestly, I think it's more for teenagers and adults than it is for anybody else. If you're addicted to those like animal farm apps where you've got to like plant the fields or you've got to take care of the animals or you got to build the city, something like that, this is similar. This
Okay.
is the app that I have is called Backpacker. And literally, you're a backpacker and you're going to travel all over the world. And your job is to kind of meet the quest in each city that you go to, and you unlock more cities the more you do. So you kind of start, I believe the beginning choices are either New York City or Rome. And
Yes.
and you start and you kind of earn money and quests and all that kind of stuff to do in each little city, and then you can kind of take a bus or a ship or a plane to the next place, and kind of all that kind of stuff. I personally think that the questions when you get to the quiz stuff about what you need to know, I think that they are far more advanced than little kids.
I agree.
They're more Jeopardy level. So I really love that app. It's called Backpacker, and it's a lot of fun. I like it. So a good one to keep on the road and kind of keep your travel interests going. What have you been watching on TV lately?
Well, I like to keep my mind fresh. So I love to watch Jeopardy on Netflix. I think it's a fun activity for the whole family, and it covers so many topics. And it's just a fun way to get everybody engaged and spend some time learning some stuff you didn't know. Maybe it's someplace you're going to be traveling to. Who knows what the categories are going to be? That's the fun part about it.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm a Jeopardy fan, and I will fast forward if none of the categories have something to do with what I know. Sometimes you get categories on that show, and it's like biochemistry, books from the 12th century, and football, and I'm like, I got nothing. I'm
Those
fast
are
learning.
those are all my favorite categories right there.
Opera, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I like watching it on Netflix is because you do kind of have that capability, and
Yeah.
they're showing repeats these days on regular TV anyway.
So you can
Okay,
watch it one time and then watch it with your family and look really smart.
that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
um, do you have somebody in your house that watches Jeopardy and gets frustrated that somebody else knows all the answers? Like, who's the smarty pants in your house with that stuff?
Casey,
Yeah, your daughter.
yes, she's very smarty pants and very competitive. So sometimes it doesn't always play out as fun as we hope it would be.
Gets a little cutthroat.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will tell you my TV pick this week, my travel binge this week is do you remember that movie from the 80s, Clue, based on the board game?
Yes.
I just came across that movie on Amazon the other day. And I'm telling you, that was the goofiest, greatest shtick of a game board I ever saw. It's so funny.
Yes, it is. I
Yes,
love Tim Curry. Love him.
I mean, he's so talented. And the rest of the cast is pretty amazing as well. But just this whole idea of being stuck in this mansion and, it could be in New England. I think that's kind of the point. It's like 1950s New England,
Right.
which is a great place to travel in itself, right? Um, but I will tell you, if you've ever seen the show, I believe it used to be on FX, and anybody can comment and tell me I'm wrong. The show is called Psych, and if you've never seen it, it's the goofiest show. There is no goofier detective agency than the Psych Detective Agency, and they did a whole tribute episode where the majority of the cast from the movie came in guested on the episode, and it is hilarious if you
Oh,
watch the
goodness.
movie and then you see that episode of Psych, which is so funny. um Anything else that you've been watching?
Well, I do love watching The Amazing Race just because it takes you to all these places that you can dream about going. And I'm going to tell you one day, Alex, we're going to be on that show.
I feel it. I
I feel that we're
feel
going to do it. But for all our listeners out there, I saw a commercial that is for a new Amazing Race on steroids.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
a physical challenge Amazing Race, more so than what it is now. So I'm excited to watch that. But I love watching Amazing Race. I do.
Yeah, I am an Amazing Race person. I actually went back to season 1 just to kind of like remember the show. And I will tell you, it is quite contenting watching them go from place to place and like, I've been there. I've done that. I was there on that bridge or whatever, I always have that kind of little warmth in my heart when I see those places on shows that are highlighting travel. So I always
Yes.
think that's fun.
Well, let me tell
I
you this. Let me share
Uh-huh.
this with you on The Amazing Race. I was watching one,
Mhm.
and then one of the stops that they had to go to get a clue
Mhm.
was Freddie Mercury's childhood home.
Hashtag
And if
gone too
anybody
soon.
knows me, knows I love Freddie Mercury. Hashtag gone too soon. We'll talk about him again later.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can. Oh, that would be so great. I'm in. Okay, I can't
I
wait to
know.
see that episode now because I'm binge watching that. Okay,
Okay.
let's talk travel food. I know that a lot of people deal with picky eaters when they travel, especially in the chicken McNugget department, right?
Yes.
Um, my suggestion, my travel food suggestion, is to make a game out of food before going on a trip. And one of the things that we we did with our kids when we moved to Japan is we got some Japanese food and we put it on the table and we let them try whatever they wanted. They had to try at least 3 things that were on the table, and they had to put down on their list the things that they would eat again, which was great because then when we went into restaurants when we lived in Japan, they had like a go-to something to eat, and the stuff that we put on the table was pretty simple. My kids are not necessarily picky eaters, and they weren't at that age. Um, but we put like gyoza and ramen and like shabu shabu, which is a kind of meat, like shaved meat. So simple things that we kind of knew that they would like. That way, when they got to the restaurant, they had some frame of reference to know what they were going to eat, and they felt a little bit more confident. So I think that maybe I will repost that kind of menu board that we used for that. I'll kind of recreate that, and we'll put that out on our Teachers Pay Teachers page. What
Awesome.
about
Yeah.
you?
I love that. Well, my 2 kids are probably the pickiest. If there's chicken on the menu, we're safe. However, when you travel to different areas, you want them to experience the regional cuisine that's being offered. So, kind of make it into a game. We have a list. And every time you have a regional snack or you eat a regional dish, you write it down on the list. And at the end of the trip, the people who have the most, whoever has the most, wins the game. So it kind of encourages them, kind of makes it into a game so you can keep notes of what you ate, what you tried, what you liked, maybe what you didn't like, but you write it down. So it makes it kind of fun for those picky eaters.
I love that. I think what we're going to do, you know what, Terri, what I'm going to do, we'll put the before game that I did with my kids with the during game that you just talked about with your kids. We'll put them into one package and we'll get them out there on Teachers Pay Teachers. The link for that will be in the notes below. Welcome back to the Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World Show. My name's Alex. This is my best friend Terri, and today we are talking all about family game night and how you can make family game night a travel experience in your house. So, Terri, tell me, what do you think is the most versatile game out there?
Oh, I believe if you're going somewhere, you need to throw a deck of cards in your bag because you can do so much. I think it's essential. You're
Yeah.
sitting at the airport. You can play Go Fish. You can play 21. I mean, you name it. You're at the airport. You're on a train. You're on a cruise. Grab a deck of Uno cards. Those are one of the most essential, easiest things to pack with you to keep not only adults interested, but to keep your kids interested as well if they're traveling with you. What about
I
you?
I agree 400% with you. When I was young, the game that my grandfather taught me was poker. And he used to say to me all the time, Alex, you must know the rules of poker in order to survive in this world. And I will say, as experience has shown, my grandfather was actually right. I did find myself in Ireland like when I was 16, and the other kids, the Irish kids, knew how to play poker. And it was kind of the way that we started getting along with each other and started getting to know each other a little bit more was through that card game. Those rules tend to be very international with very few variations, and it's a pretty great game to get out there, kind of a gin rummy game. So I agree with you completely.
Can I be honest?
Mhm.
Can I? I don't know how to play poker.
We will have a Facebook Live video of me teaching Terri how to play poker
Yia
in the
Yia needs to
near
know how to play poker.
future. Don't worry about a
Yes.
thing. I will get you covered.
I feel a little worried now. Okay.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So, there are some really classic games that represent areas around the world. And I know, I will tell you, a lot of people think that when you see people playing like in neighborhood parks or, along the riverbank or one of those kind of things, that it's kind of like their private moment and you really can't join in. In Europe, a lot of times those are like clubs that are meeting, and they're not as adverse to having people around as you think. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you ask and they're like, "We have no room for you today." And they're pretty nice about it. There are quite a few games that if you learn the rules before you come, you could wind up with like one of those magical travel experiences. Let me give you an example. If you've ever been um, you've probably seen it on TV at some point in time, but in France and Italy, they have a um, game. In France, it's called Patong, and in Italy, it's called Bocce Ball. And it's kind of like an urban park game. It's like a long alleyway, like an outdoor bowling alley lane that's a bit wider, and it's all about how close the main ball is to your ball, like how close you can get your ball to the lead ball. And the rules vary just a bit, region by region and country by country. But knowing the simple rules to things like Patong and Bocce Ball, I found a Bocce Ball pitch on a cruise ship, which seems a little crazy that they were able to do it, but it worked. I have seen it in Alaska, and I have also seen it in Scotland. So, and they are very happy to have people join in and kind of give you the finer points of the game if you know the basics, which I love that idea. What game springs to mind for you?
Well, if you haven't watched my was it Crazy Rich Asians? A
Mm-hmm.
very delightful movie. But in that movie in Singapore, they're playing mahjong.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was pretty interesting. As a kid growing up, I always used to play dominoes with my grandmother.
Right.
That was it. Go to the bone pile and draw from the bone pile. But finding out, I did some research on it because it was very interesting that all you basically need to know is you need to know the rules, you need to know what the tiles represent. But other than that, there's not a language barrier. You do not have to speak Chinese to play this game. So, Alex, when we go to Singapore, we're going to hit this up.
We're going to hit the Mahjong parlor.
Yeah,
And
we are.
I will say this about Mahjong, it has everything to do with poker. So you're going to be set once we learn the poker. All the
What?
Mahjong's going to make sense. It's going to
Uh,
be great. It's going to be great. I do know two other classic games that really help when you're out traveling. And I've seen this in both places, and I've joined in one. Um, in Poland, in Krakow, on the river, the Vistula River, which kind of runs underneath the castle, um, the old men play chess, and they let me sit down and play chess with them. And that was very funny, because it was quite a language barrier. But chess is chess. Even Harry Potter played it, and the rules are kind of the same. And the other one is backgammon. If you know anything about backgammon, which is a great classic game, it's an ancient game. They play that all over Turkey. It's kind of like hookah and backgammon are pretty hands in hands, and it's a lot of fun, you know, a lot of
okay,
fun.
another honest moment.
Hmm.
I don't know how to play chess.
Okay, we'll be having another Facebook Live video soon where Terri learns how to play chess.
Yay!
Yay! That's going to be great. We're going to have so much fun. I feel like a whole series called Terri Learns How to Play.
There you go.
Yes. Okay, Terri, I do know one thing that you're very good at, and you have far more patience at it than I do, and that's road trip games with kids in the car.
Yes. If for some reason you find yourself Uncle Ben's not working and the kids are awake, no, no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I would never do that to my children, only if necessary. But you can always play. I like playing like I Spy. Um, 20 questions is always a good one to play as you're driving. The license plate. See how many people can find different license plates. We do an alphabet game where you start with a letter A and you look on all the signs, and whoever finds the first letter A, and then you go to B and then C all the way through the alphabet. And then if all else fails, then we play Uncle Ben.
Tell me what Uncle Ben is.
That's a little Benadryl, makes you a little sleepy sleep.
A little sleepy sleep.
Nap
It's time for
time.
nap time. I like the quiet game too.
Yes.
Now, I have found, we talked about Clue earlier, and I have found two unique games that I think are really cutting edge. They're kind of trendy right now. The first one is an Alexa game, and it's called When in Rome. And it's actually a game that you play. It has a game board, it has dice, it has all of that stuff. But Alexa is the quiz master. And so you play it with a bunch of people, and Alexa will tell you if you're right or you're wrong as you travel around the world and kind of collect cities. So
I
that's
want
the
this game. I want this game.
it's so fun. I really do like it. Well, that you know what? That might be our first episode of Terri Learns How to Play. Um, I feel a whole series coming. The next one is called Escape the Crate. And if you're a subscription box fan, this is for you. Basically, if you've been to an escape room, this is like an escape room in a box. And the whole box, everything that's mailed to you, everything could contain a clue. And that means even the outer printing on the box when you get it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you have to use everything. The first one that we did was Escape from Alcatraz, which was a lot of fun. So we went to Alcatraz and looked at the whole thing. Then we got one that was circus themed, and then we got one where we had to go to New Orleans and it was Mardi Gras themed. So I would say for the older kids, the clues are pretty tough, but it's definitely a great rainy night is what I would call it. So a lot of fun. I keep them in the closet, and when we're all together, we kind of grab one if we have nothing better to do. So
And
that's a fun one.
we're good. We're good at escape rooms.
We are excellent at escape rooms. It is definitely one of my favorite activities with you. Definitely. Tell
I
me
think really someone should pay us. They should pay to video us doing these escape rooms.
I'm just saying it's good to be thorough when you're looking for clues, and we are very systematic and we communicate very well when we're doing them, and our children make fun of us. But
Yes.
I think that we have a fireproof strategy walking in to any escape room.
It's that we're getting out.
Yes.
Well,
what else has come across your way in the game department?
I want to bring these two games up again that we talked about in another episode, was the Paths Crossing. I find that game to be so, like, if you're like in a pinch and you're like, what are we going to do? Grab that. And it's so quick and easy. And the listography. Who doesn't like making lists? I do. Those are two great, awesome games to use as you're traveling.
And that game was kind of fun for everybody, listography, and it was fast. You could play it for 5 minutes, or you could play it for like hours.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it was super easy to do. Like you just kind of needed a piece of paper and the cards, and you can go for it.
Yeah.
So that one was definitely fun. We could not talk about family game night without talking sports. So, one of the biggest places where sports can be quite entertaining and quite an experience is Ireland. And my biggest suggestion is when it comes to these kind of sports, just kind of get the lay of the land. I always say when you check in at a local pub in Ireland, figure out who the home team is and go to the game the next day and root for those guys.
Oh,
So,
totally agree.
yeah.
I've always wanted to come up with a cheat sheet of things that you can say that's generic, but you're gonna fit in.
Yeah.
And I use this a lot from experience when my son wrestled, and I always wanted to just come up with a generic statement to say that would work for everything, because you don't ever wanna yell out the wrong thing. So,
Exactly.
definitely know a little bit before you get over there. Make a little cheat sheet, know some of the facts, know something you can just say that makes you like, "Oh, she knows what she's talking about." Makes it
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Yeah. And you can make that cheat sheet at the pub the night before. Find somebody who's chatty and get the down low on the team for the next day because it is a lot of fun and it's super hometown spirit kind of
And
fun.
the more drinks you have, the better things you have to yell out.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. We're going to bring our family game night to an end. And Terry, if we could give one piece of advice to people traveling overseas, what piece of advice would you give them about games?
I would definitely say that you need to make sure you have something. Throw that deck of cards. I'm going to go. That's a good old standby. A deck of cards and a little pad of paper. You can play any games you want. You can play war. You can play Go Fish. And paper, tic tac toe, hangman. I know my mother used to pull that paper out in church to keep me occupied. So I know if you're on a plane, it's going to work too.
Exactly, exactly. My biggest tip is especially when you're traveling in Europe, but really quite honestly, anywhere outside the United States, soccer is king. And we've said it before on the show, knowing just the basics and especially in the June and July time, kind of just who's playing can make you part of the fun instead of you just observing the fun. And I really, truly recommend that. So, we're so glad that you were able to join us for this particular part of our show. This is Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the Worlds.
You know, the travel industry has taken quite a blow from several global issues, including the war in Ukraine, the climb out of the COVID-19 crisis, and inflation that makes it hard for people to get out into the world like they want to. At this point, leading experts are predicting that it's going to take up to 3 years for the travel industry to bounce back to full force. One way that you can help the travel industry is to like and subscribe to 10 microbloggers. Each time you do, you're telling all those travel industry experts that you are ready to enjoy everything that the world has to offer, and you can start with us.
That's right. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and even LinkedIn at Babcia and Yia Yia. That is Babcia and YIA. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us at babciandyaya@gmail.com with your questions, suggestions, favorite travel tips, products, and travel trends so that we can share your ideas in the future.
Babcia and Yia Yia is our home base for everything we love about travel. It's where our blog and show notes live and where we share access to all of our resources, including travel literacy for kids. We always have new posts about all the things we love about travel, including today's topics, as well as featured destinations, travel lifestyle, and stories to make you smile.
Didn't get all of that? No worries. Just check out our show notes for all of the ways to stay in touch and links to anything we chatted about in this episode. As always, thanks for joining us for our journey.